And I'm going to introduce Mrs. Stewart to you, who is one of the high school teachers, and a long time ago, she taught the class that you guys are in right now. So she knows exactly where you guys are coming from and exactly where you're going to.
It wasn't that long ago, it was only just 6 years.
Okay, seems like a long time.
And I taught it for 13 years while I was here, so I know where you're coming from. And I teach the 501 course. I haven't taught the 511, but I work with those teachers, so I know a lot about both of those courses too. So I'm hoping today to help you make the decision about which course is the best fit for you. Okay, so try and listen with an open mind. Your goal really is to figure out what's the best fit for me. Not where my parents want to be, not where my friends are going, but for me as a learner and how I like to learn math, what's the best fit. Okay, so keep that in your mind. And we're your advocates, so we're going to support you. If you and your parents are having a disagreement, or you and your teacher are having a disagreement, we really want you to make the best choice possible so that when you step foot up to Newton North, you are all set, ready to go, and there aren't all these crazy schedule changes and you're not overwhelmed and all these other things that can happen, because it's a great place up there with lots of opportunities. This is one decision you need to make. So we want to give you all the information we can up front, and if you have questions, I'll take them at the end. So, I know you have the PowerPoint in front of you. I'm going to talk through everything, so obviously you can feel free to look at that. Did you bring a pen or pencil to write notes down or anything? If you have questions, if you try to do that as we're going through
it. You're paying for it? No idea.
Oh, all right. All right. So, first and foremost, let me explain to you the crazy flowchart that is the math courses up at Newton North. Now, here's the thing that I hate. You are just starting high school, and I'm going to talk to you about all the way up to senior year. Okay? But this is important to know sort of where you might go in your sequence here. And there are times when you change and you move. Again, best fit for you. So, if you were in 8 accelerated, typically all of those students would go to 511. That is the continuation of the accelerated track. 511 is accelerated math. Okay. If you are really up for the challenge and enjoy math, and I'll talk more about 501, then a handful of you proceed up to 501, which is the honors course. So what I have to make clear all the time, because even when I was teaching here, and that was 6 years ago, so a lot has changed. This course has changed. I think students didn't understand that this was accelerated. This is going to continue the way you're learning math right now. Honors is going to be a little step above, more independence and things like that. But if you watch, whether you land here or here, you're going to get to some form of calculus. The other thing I want to share with you is we have this really, really other cool course, SIMS, which is more probably contextual-based math learning. You do a lot of group work, but you never have to say, why am I learning this? You're presented with a problem, and you learn the math that goes with that to solve the problem. So this is another pathway as well. So this is the more traditional pathway, 8A, 511, and then you choose a calculus class over here. SIMS also leads into calculus. So at home, if your parents are worried, am I going to see calculus? All of you, no matter which of these sequences you go into, see calculus in your senior year. For some reason, that's sort of the end-all that everybody's curious about. I don't see what the rush is. You can learn calculus in college, too. So, again, best fit for you. Up here, though, you'll notice there's 2 different AP calculus courses. BC Calc is a full year of calculus in your senior year. AB, you do half a year of college calculus in your full senior year. And then this is Intro to Calculus. So again, end goal, everybody gets to calculus no matter what decision you make back here in 8th grade to go to high school. Okay. And remember, I'm really worried about where you're going next year. I don't really care about up there right now. You shouldn't care too much about up there either. Think about next year. All right, so on to the next slide. This is sort of the difference in habits of mind between 511 and 501. So the 501 and 511 teachers, we talked and we said, what's different in your room compared to my room? So in the 511 classroom, there'd be several teacher-led examples, which is how I imagine when I taught 8th grade accelerated, that's what would happen. I do a lot of examples at the board, then you'd have independent time to work on your own or work together, go through similar problems, and we'd move on. In 501, there's minimal teacher-led examples. You walk in my classroom, I have one warm-up question up there, you get to work, I don't necessarily guide you or tell you everything you need to know to solve the problem, and then we move on. So it's a lot more independence over here. I don't show you everything you need to see step by step all of the time. That's not to say I don't do that sometimes, but in 501 the expectation is you don't want me to tell you how to do something. You want to figure it out for yourself. So that's one of the big differences. In terms of class time, in the 511, they review your homework every day, you practice, and some more exploration. If you look at 501, brief homework review. I maybe talk about 1 or 2 questions that I think everybody might have had trouble with. And then if there's other homework questions, you have to find time on your own to come back and see me. So come back during the next block or ask in your group. But I don't spend a lot of class time talking about homework questions. That's the practice I expect you to do at home. If you have questions or concerns, we'll talk about a few. You'll discuss in your groups, but then we move on and we explore new ideas. So it's really a new idea almost every day. In terms of homework, you'll notice here, 12 to 15 problems takes you about 40 minutes. In my honors class, 5 to 10 problems, which sounds great. Because I remember when I taught 8th grade Accelerated, I think we assigned like 25, 30 problems every night. They were all very similar. 5 to 10 problems, all a little different. It might take you 45 minutes. So my kids at first were always psyched and say, oh, just 5 problems. I'm like, wait till you see these 5 problems. They're so rich, they're so cool. It's going to take you that amount of time. So you also have to think about balancing your whole schedule. Do you have the time to commit to a class that's going to require that of you? So something else to think about when you're making a decision. Here, in terms of your assessments, your tests, you probably, when you take a test, it's probably problems that are just like the ones you've done in class or just like the ones you've done in the homework. My class, honors, yeah, you'll have some of those, but I want to see, can you take all the ideas and concepts I've presented to you and apply them to a new situation? Or can you stretch a little bit more on the test? So inevitably, in the first couple of months, kids say to me, you never showed us that. Well, yeah, I showed you what you needed to solve it, but you had to figure out how to put it together. So my test is not a duplicate of what you've just done in class and you spit it back to me. You have to be able to take it to the next level. And then pacing, this is probably the big difference. In 511, chapters 1 to 3 will be a review and a further study of what you've done in 8th grade. And then chapter 4 and beyond is going to be new material. When you walk in the doors to 501, there is no review. Okay, we start with the expectation that you've mastered everything in 8th grade and it's new material from day 1. Okay, so that's a big difference. And I'll talk more about that as we get further into the presentation. So again, mastery of prior knowledge in 8th grade is helpful for 511, obviously. But over here, mastery of prior knowledge in 8th grade is expected, and it's really required for success. So if you know there's a topic sort of that you struggled with this year, and you still want to try 501, what I would say to you is you need to make sure that, like if there's a unit you were floundering with, let's say, I don't know if you've done laws of excellence yet. That was always one that was a troublesome area when I was teaching it. But if there's something like, oh, thank God that unit's over, I don't need to know it. That would not be the case when you come to honors. You need to know all of the units that you've been studying. And I would say that's probably true for over here too, but they're going to review, and they're going to make sure that you really do understand the previous knowledge that they expected you to have. So we thought we'd share with you sort of the first units that we've done in both courses to give you a sense. In 501, we start right away with factoring. Then we go into equations and lines, which I know sounds like, oh, I did that in 8th grade. Believe me, we do it much different. Geometric proofs. We get into quadratics and geometric proofs too. So this is sort of the first and second term of 501. In 511, you'll notice chapters 1, 2, and 3, reviewing some algebra, some inequalities, linear equations, and then you get to factoring. So that's in terms of the pacing, and then they start to get into rational expressions. You also will get into proofs over here. So the pacing is what's really different. And again, with the expectation that, when I get equations and lines, I expect my kids know, y equals mx plus b, you've probably done a lot of work with. I'm going to talk about point slope. I'll talk about standard form. I don't know if you've done that yet in 8th grade. It's coming up. But I would expect that you already know all those forms, and I can look at application problems with you. I can stretch those ideas for you. So that's the difference there. But the pacing is significantly different in terms of the material that you'll cover. And this I love because I think this is the inside dialogue you might be having with yourself. And so you can use these as check marks to help yourself out. Where do I fall? You don't have to have all 5 things to say this is the fit for me, but I think it's a nice way to sort of gauge how am I feeling about this decision. So is honors for me? Yes, if you enjoy math and I'm curious about how and why it works. I don't want my teacher to tell me. Over here, you're all good at math. I know you are. You're in the accelerated class here. You're probably strong math students. The difference now is how much do you enjoy it and how much are you looking for a challenge or sort of that, I want my teacher to give me space to figure it out rather than telling me this is how you do it. So over here, I'm good at it, but I like my teachers to tell me how it works and show me the steps. Over here, I don't need a lot of help, but I go and get it when I need it. That's a big wake-up call for some of my honors students because I've never had to get help before. The ones that realize it and come and see me X block for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or some stay the whole time, they get the help they need right away without encouragement. Over here, your parents and your teachers are usually the ones telling you, maybe you need to get some help in math, and they have to encourage you. So again, it's more your independence and taking responsibility for your learning. Over here, I work on my own. I can come up with solutions to the really tough problems on the homework and in class. Over here, I get frustrated with challenging problems and often need help to complete my work. Students who come in and they have a question mark or a blank, and that's happening a lot. I'm thinking, well, why are you here? You're supposed to want to tackle those problems. Every now and then, yes, a question mark. Every now and then, yes, a blank. I don't expect you to get everything, but you should want to try and figure it out before you come into the room. And I feel really comfortable and will remember all the details about 8th grade math. Of course, I'm human, you're human. You do forget something. So obviously, if I all of a sudden recognize that my whole honors class, let's say, forgot something to do with, let's see, this year's crew forgot to do something with factoring. And so I had to assess the class and say, okay, you really didn't remember that from last year. I need to review it. So I want to ease the anxiety you have there. If I notice the whole class is forgetting something, then I know I have to teach it and look back at it. But in general, you'll remember most details. And then I get it after just seeing one example and do different and more challenging problems easily. So usually my hook is that warm-up problem, and that'll be like the basic concept or skill you need. And then as we go through the class, I have other problems that build on that and build on something maybe from a previous unit that you have to put together. And inevitably, you have like that aha moment. That's what I want to see a lot of in the honors class. Like that's what it's meant for. You enjoy the challenge, you want to figure it out, and you want that moment of where you feel proud, like I did this. I didn't need my teacher to tell me how to do this. And over here, you're somebody who, you understand the math now, but you need a refresher before you learn new stuff next year. And you like to see multiple examples done out before I can do work on my own. And the problems better not be too different from the examples that I showed you. So again, as I said, in the honors class, you don't always see everything ahead of time. We really do try to push you and give you more independence, because our feeling is if you're going to move up to the honors level, you're excited about math, you're curious about math, you want to discover it on your own, you want to take ownership of the learning. And again, accelerated, you are still going to be doing some of that, it just wouldn't be at the same amount. So there's more independence in both of these courses. Both of these courses require good study habits, good homework habits, good group skills, and an ability to go get help when you need it. So what we've noticed is regardless of where you were in 8th grade and what your grades were, students who went into 501 or 511, the ones who were successful, regardless of what your grade is right now in 8th grade accelerated, the ones who are successful in those courses do their homework, take good notes in class, are organized, get help when they need it. Those are your keys to success in any course, not just in math. But that's what I'm saying to you, because having taught the 8th grade accelerated course, you grow up a lot between 8th and 9th grade. Maybe you didn't click with your teacher. Maybe it was an off year for you. So maybe your grades aren't an accurate reflection of what you could do. But if your grades aren't an accurate reflection because you've been lazy, you haven't been doing your homework, you're not organized, you feel like, oh, I get it all the time, I don't need to do that practice. I'm telling you, if you decide to make the decision to come to honors, if you're not somebody, or even the 511, if you're not somebody who does your homework regularly and takes good notes and is organized, you're going to struggle and flounder at first. So that's something, those are keys for success in terms of next year, regardless of which math course you choose. And then this is the other course that is an option, and I think for many of you, if you sort of like more of that independence, but you don't want to go at the honors pace, Sims might be a good fit. Because Sims, in many traditional math classes, you ask the question, when will I ever use this stuff? And I have to say, when I walk in and see a Sims class, I'm always amazed, because there's a problem on the board, and throughout that problem, they figure out the formulas that they need, the materials that they need. It's just a really different setting. I think it's a really cool setting to learn math in. So the Sims modules always have a real-world context, so you know why you're learning the math you're learning. And Sims Math promotes a strong classroom community. So I have to also say those classes are really, like you can just see them in the building. If they're a Sims course kid, they know everybody in their class. They've worked together. It's a really strong sense of community. It is an advanced college prep course. So all of these courses, 511, 501, and Sims, are all advanced college prep courses. It's exploration-based approach, modeling approach in a real-world context. You work collaboratively with your classmates. This is huge. So if you are somebody who tends to want to work alone, Sims is not going to be the place for you. Sims, you really do have to work in your groups. And I've seen group work, and I've done group work, but not to the level of what Sims does. Every day you are in a group tackling a problem together. So you have to have really good interpersonal skills, and you have to want to learn that way. So if you're thinking about Sims, you're a strong math student, you want a little more independence, you really want to know why you're learning the math you're learning, and you like to work in groups, this would be a good place for you. And then this communication piece, which in today's world, being able to communicate your findings orally and in writing, I mean, that's huge. What a great skill that is. And that's such a big part of Sims. So I will have something, I think in the handout there's a little blurb there. about Sims, and also sort of these are the things you should be asking yourself if you're thinking about Sims. If Sims is for you, you're a problem solver. You like to tackle problems. Not for you if you're not a good reader. That's just because it's, I would say, it's heavily language-based, but again, I wouldn't say that should be the only reason you don't take Sims. If you don't like reading, that's different. If you're not good at it, like if you have a hard time processing reading, it might be a reason to maybe step back and think this a little bit more. You have creative and collaborative minds over here. You prefer to work alone over there. You're good at sharing your ideas. You prefer lots of examples to follow. There's lots of examples in teacher-led is more the 5-11 sequence. Over here, you're an effective collaborator, so you don't join a group and let somebody else do the work. Or you don't join a group and you do all the work because you don't trust somebody else to do it. That's not the Sims person. Now this, the dislike and fear word problems, we actually have students here today that are in the Sims course, they're juniors and seniors, and she said, I don't like that you said it this way, she says, because I don't like word problems, but I love Sims. So I think that's probably not the best way to have phrased that. She said, yeah, there's word problems all over the place. She goes, but they're cool, and I want to figure it out, and I want to know why, like, this is cool, because I know the math that I learned really has a purpose. And she said, so that's probably not the best way to say that. So she said, tell them, I hate word problems, but I love Sims. So write that beside that, please, because I feel better if that goes home rather than dislike fear word problems. I don't like word problems, but I might like tackling a problem together. And yeah, if you're bored with repetition, and you're bored sort of with the traditional way that math is taught, I hate when I say that because I feel like I'm not that boring and I don't teach it traditionally. But Sims is definitely, it's just a cool way to learn math. I don't know how else to describe it. Over here, you know, your answers are either correct or incorrect most of the time in your other math classes. Over here, you don't know necessarily what the correct answer is going to be, and your group might have a slightly different answer than somebody else. You have to defend why your answer is a better answer than theirs. So it's a more scientific-based math class.
I love Sims.
Definitely a cool class.
Did you guys used to do like a little temporary module of Sim when you taught in 8th grade, and you know if the teachers, are they still doing it?
Yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it, and I know the year I did it, I didn't do it justice,
okay.
So it didn't really sell Sims, and I wish I had done a better job with it. Because truly right now, I would say more teachers in our department are fighting to try and be the ones that teach the course. Right now there's one course at each grade level, so 4 teachers get to teach it. And when I say to you, like, teachers are fighting to try and be that teacher. It's a really cool way to explore math and learn math. And honestly, I would say I think you probably retain it more because you had a reason to learn the math you were learning. It solved a problem for you. So definitely consider that as well. I think that is it. So I do have a computer science class that is new next year to North. I know nothing about it except for the handout that they gave me, so in a minute I will read that and give that to you. But I want you to ask me questions if you have things you want to know about 501 versus 511 or anything about freshman year up at North. Okay, go ahead.
Is Sims more or less advanced than what?
Okay, so Sims would be the same as 511, but actually the teachers say a little bit more math rigorous than even the 511. So it's not quite honors, it's sort of in between. I know, so in our flow chart it kind of makes it look like it's below, and it's not. It really should have been beside 511 or a little bit above in terms of the math you need to bring there. Yes?
501, is it possible to just do the homework in under 45 minutes?
Oh, yes, I definitely have students. So I said 45 minutes because that's the max I would expect it to take, but I definitely have students who from day one are able to get their homework done in, say, 20 minutes. Yes. And it will vary, like, unit to unit also.
Like, what percent of the grade goes to what classes? Like, how many students from day go to 511, Sim, and 501?
Oh, good question. I actually don't know the direct, like the complete answer to that. I know my department head might, but I know, for example, and from day I wouldn't know, but I can tell you right now, I know there are 5 honor sections, so 5 501s. I believe there are possibly 8 511s and 1 Sims. And I know I would like those numbers to be different. Yes.
What are like the average grades into the classes? Like, is 500 different?
No, so in terms of sort of the distribution of grades, so the other thing I want to say to you, you notice I didn't really talk about grades, right? Because for me, it's more about your inner desire to want to learn math. But what I will say to you, when we look at grade 8 grades from last year, you know, the A's, the B's, and the C's, students that had those, students that have A's generally continue to get A's. Students with Bs, some of those got As, continue to get Bs, or some fall into the C range. C or lower, you know, if that's your final grade, you struggle a little bit. That's not to say some people don't find success, but for most students that had Cs, you're sort of in the lower Bs to C or D range. That's for this year and just for the first half of the year. Same is true sort of for 511. Regardless of your 8th grade grade, again, if you were getting A's, you probably continue with your A's. If you're getting B's, some of you do, you know, improve your study habits and things, and you move up to A's. Some of you stay at the B's, move to C's. So it's really such an individual thing. Your grade is a good predictor, but it's not the only predictor. And I would say you know best how much effort you're putting in to get that grade. Are you working hard to get that B? Or are you know, doing the bare minimum getting that B? Or that A, are you working so hard? Are you working with a tutor? Are you working with your parents? Are you working with your older sibling? Like, when I have kids in my honors class and they tell me, well, I meet with my tutor, and my parents do this, and I'm like, are you enjoying learning math? Like, that's what this comes down to. Like, don't put yourself in over your head just to satisfy, you know, what your parents want or what all your friends are doing. Both of these courses, all 3 of these courses are rich. You're going to have an incredible math experience. And at the end, all of you will see calculus. Again, for whatever reason, that's what people think needs to happen. So you don't need to worry about that. Calculus will happen. But really think about, how do I like to learn math? Do I want to be pushed? Do I have the time to devote to this? Because a lot of my freshmen, they get up there and then they realize, oh, I'm going to do drama. I'm going to do a sport. I'm going to join this club. I want to have friends and see my friends and not be booked into everything. So you want to balance that and think about it. And I know math is sort of the only class that's honors level next year. After that, all the other subjects open up. But again, you need to really think about what you need and what best fits your learning style. And your teachers are great resources for that. They know you well. They place students, you know, I would say 95% of the time, it's the right match. But there's always cases where you know you've had an off year. Or you've been working really hard to get those A's and B's all the time, and you're tired of working that hard. And you want to be able to explore all the other things that the high school has to offer you. So keep that in mind too as you think about 501, 511, Sims. Don't overlook Sims. It is a great course. Anything else?
Are all the classes the same amount of credits?
Very good question. So,
Can you repeat the question? Because back here they
sure. He asked if all the classes are the same amount of credits. So they're the same amount of credits, but in terms of your GPA, some might be, if you do a weighted GPA, the honors classes would carry more weight than the 511 or the Sims. 511 and Sims would both be considered, well, right now they're curriculum 1 and there's honors. The labels are changing, and I can't remember, we have advanced college prep?
I think all upstairs.
Yes, so I think they're all advanced college prep now. So they do carry the same credits in terms of your average. Might be a slight advantage to the honors, but again, taking honors and getting a C versus doing the 511 and getting an A or B, that's what you have to say, is it worth those things? And again, I hate when it comes down to grades. I really want you to think about how much you enjoy math and bring that motivation. Like, I have tons of kids in my honors classes that are getting C's, but my God, they love math and they're trying every day and they're psyched when they walk in my room. Like, okay, what are you gonna tackle us with today? How do I figure that out? So it's not about your grade, it's about your willingness to try, take risks, fail, get back up, try again. That's what it's about. Because my students laughed at me. I said something to them the other day, they're like, don't say it like that, you sound like a crazy person. I was like, no, you gotta like live and breathe math. If you're gonna do honors, it's because you are interested in that subject. That's what it should be. You are really excited and interested to learn and go deeper into the subject material than in past years. Yep.
Like, what kind of percentage is like homework, just like for your grade homework, like quizzes?
I can't speak to the 511, but I know in 501, homework is maybe 10% of your grade. Because the expectation is you're doing it. So,
What about everything else?
everything else, so there's a lot of tests, quizzes, sometimes there's projects, there's graded homeworks that are a little bit more. So that would probably be 75% of your grade, and then it's sort of that percentages of group participation in classwork and things like that. But it is heavily based on your quiz and test grades.
For the homeworks that are graded, is it graded on how much you get right or if you do the homework?
So in my classroom, and again, I'm pretty sure the other 501 teachers are this way, during the week I might do a spot check and just walk up and down the aisles for a daily homework assignment to make sure you've tried it. If it's going to be a graded homework, you get typically 2 to 3 days, and I tell you it's going to be collected and graded for accuracy, so you know to be extra careful. So like those daily quick checks are only 2 points, but a graded homework might be 20 points. So that would be the difference. And you'd know way ahead of time that I'm grading it for accuracy, at least in my room, and I think the other 501 teachers do the same thing.
So on the slideshow, it showed 9th grade to 12th grade. Are you going to be in the same class till 12th grade?
No. So the classes all change. So like if you're in my 501 class this year, you might go to 502 next year, but you could have over half of your class could be different. Or actually, your entire class could be different. There's so many sections. So no. And just because you start in honors doesn't mean you stay there. And if you're in 511 doesn't mean you stay there. Sims doesn't mean you stay there. It's really all about the best fit. But the goal is to make the best fit possible from the start. There's a lot of changing and switching. That doesn't make for an ideal learning program for you. So really think hard about this. And that's why we wanted to see you before the vacation so you have time to discuss this at home. Really take stock of, who am I as a learner? Look at that little sheet, is honors for me? Where do you fall? How many of those things did you answer yes to? And think about that. And again, it doesn't have to be all yeses, but they're important questions to ask yourself. Anything else? Yes, Mr. Murphy.
Following up with John's excellent question, because there's fewer Sims sections, does that mean that it's less likely that when you go from Sims year to year, are you more likely to kind of be recognizing that class?
Yes, so that's definitely what's happening. When there's only one section, they do stay together all 4 years right now. Our goal, we would like to at least have 2 freshman classes next year. Obviously, if enough of you are interested and want it, we'd offer as many as wanted. But it's less likely that you'll mix up because there's so few sections.
Could you do like Sims freshman year and then 501? I don't know what the equivalent would that be in like sophomore years.
It's a good question. It's definitely something we're discussing in the department, how to make sort of this movement more easy. So if you try out the Sims and you're finding it's not the right fit for you, definitely in your sophomore year, you could make the transition to 512 easily. To 502, I'm not so sure, but I'm positive we could provide you with, like, if we know there's a unit you missed, you could do independent work on that to make that move happen. Very good question.
Like if you didn't get something in class in like the 501, during X block would the teacher be able to like give you more examples? Like would they be able to kind of almost do like a 511 for the 501 during X block?
So yes, I would say sometimes that happens. So X block, for those of you that don't know, it's on Monday and Thursday afternoons, and it's sort of built-in extra help for you. So I know you teachers are here after school at day. At the high school on Monday and Thursdays, there's a block called X block. So after all your blocks meet, that happens. All of your teachers are supposed to be in their classroom for extra help during Mondays and Thursdays. It trumps sports, clubs, anything. They all know that that time is devoted to academics, and then you go to those activities later if you need to. So if you need help, you come for help. And typically that would be a time when, like, if I did something in class and you didn't quite get it, I could go over the problem again with you individually, or there'd be other students from your class and you could work with them. So it definitely is a great tool, and many of my students have taken full advantage of that this year. We have a really cool new course up at Newton North next year called Exploring Computer Science. Best thing about this, it's offered all 4 years, 9th through 12th grade. So if you can't do it next year, you can still do it 10th grade. You can still do it 11th grade. You can still do it 12th grade. You can fit it into your schedule whenever possible. This is a computer science class. It meets 4 periods a week, so it's a full year course, 4 times a week. Really hard to fit into your schedule maybe freshman year. But definitely something to think about for freshman year if you do have the time and you're really interested in computers. So it's brand new. I don't know a ton about it. I'm going to read from the sheet with you, and I'll try and answer as many questions as I can. But you would delve into real-world relevant problems and tackle these challenges through collaborative and creative uses of computing tools. So exploring computer science is also going to explore the limits of computers, the social impact of widespread use of computers, and current research about how humans interact with computers. I love that that's what they're looking at. Because when I hear exploring computer science, I'm thinking like programming and all of that. This is going to look at so much more. Like what are computers not capable of doing? How are they impacting our social interactions? All that. So it's a really fun, cool course. It is the first year of the course. So again, offered though 9th through 12th grade. So if you can't do it next year, you have plenty of time to fit it into your schedule. And then someone over here had a question about Sims, which I want to make sure I answer. In looking, because I really, again, I hope some of you really do choose this pathway. If you look at our current course chart, it makes it look like if you're in Sims freshman year, that you can't get to an AP calculus class. And I know that's what it looks like on the flow chart right now, but what you need to know is that as a Newton North High School math department, we are looking at that and making that pathway accessible to you. So you're 9th graders right now. By the time you're 12th graders, that path will exist. Okay, that's our goal as a math department, to make sure that you could still go up into the AP calculus class if you wanted to. Yes, another question?
On the back, so what are the units for
It says
Are there like 2 separate programming units or?
I'm not exactly sure. I know these will be the 6 units.
Well,
So,
but at the top it says.
I think it's just a typo.
oh, it says programming twice. Nope, you found the typo. Good job.
I thought it was.
Yeah, no, there's only one, as far as I know, there's only one programming unit. Thank you for checking. Yes.
For ECS, is it all 4 grades in the same class?
Potentially it could be. So Ms. Conway, sorry, there's a question about the computer science class, and that'd be something I'd be curious about as well. Well, the computer science class, where it's open 9th through 12th graders.
Yes.
You could be a 9th grader sitting in a room with 12th graders, right?
Yes.
So it would be, yes.
Correct. And as Ms. Stewart said, it's our first year, so we're gonna see what happens. We have no idea if we're gonna get 20 students to register or, 150. So we're gonna wait and see what happens. And we are really excited about it. It's gonna be a really fun course. If you're really into computers or any of the, I would encourage you to, we don't have time right now, but to really read this. And there, if you look at the bottom, who should take ECS? Can you guys read that to yourself right now? But it's not just those of you who really like to program. It's a lot more inclusive than that.
Between Sims and ECS, you could write your own ticket for a job in the future.
Can we introduce Ms. Craig?
So this is Ms. Prager. She's another 501 honors math teacher as well. And so they had very good questions about sort of the differences 501 and 511 and worrying. Again, I tried to mention, don't focus so much on your grade this year. Focus on your enjoyment of math. And do you want more freedom and independence with the learning of your math? Do you want to take more ownership of it? So I'm sort of the coach on the side, pushing you to go, but I'm not really telling you everything you need to know on purpose, not because I don't want to. It's very hard sometimes for me not to tell you what you need to know. But that's sort of the big difference there. Any other last minute questions? I do have to say you made a wonderful, wonderful first impression. I'm excited to see all of you so eager to dive into that problem, most of you. I appreciate it. So show that energy to your teachers today.
Thank you.
So one last question?
I know we shouldn't worry about 12th grade.
Yep, and it's okay, go ahead.
Intro to calculus more advanced than BC and AB?
No, Intro to Calculus would not carry AP credit. So the top two, the BC Calc and the AB Calc, you could take an AP exam and get AP college credit for those ones. Intro to Calculus doesn't carry that, so you would. And again, I was somebody who took AP Calculus 12th year of high school, passed and could have placed out of it at BU. I went into the second semester of BU's calculus and decided, oh, I need to go back and do first semester with them. They do it a little different. So I feel like I'm really strong about don't rush to get to calculus. Like, it's great, but you can learn it later in life too, and you'll do just as well as everybody else. Find the best fit for your learning style.